You're locked into the Womanora Crush Wednesday podcast, the only weekly podcast inspiring, educating, motivating 1 million women entrepreneurs one Wednesday at a time. The WCW Podcast is fueled by the purpose formula: passion plus purpose plus profit equals success. And here are your hosts, Jen and Modi.
Hey crushes, you are now listening to the WCW Podcast. This is episode 15. It's Tip Tuesday, and we are very excited to talk to you about brand clarity. Today we're going to be giving you 5 steps on how to get brand clarity and build a crush-worthy brand. Now, branding is a topic that's very near and dear to us. We spent a lot of time working on our own brand for this podcast, a lot of time strategizing and researching. So it's something that we feel like we know a lot about and we execute well on it. So first I want to say, what is branding? Branding is about creating a name, a symbol, a design that identifies and differentiates your brand or your product from other products and brands. But what does that really mean? Branding is about the promise you give to your customer. Branding is not marketing, which is about selling, just to get that clear. Branding is about the emotions that come along when people see your products or your brand. And branding is about, most importantly, building trust and connection with your audience. So now into these 5 tips that you can use to achieve brand clarity. So first, I want to suggest doing a brainstorming session. And this is something we did starting out. You could use Google Notes, you could use Evernote, you could Google Notes, Google Docs, you can use Evernote, you can use a journal, or however it is that you take notes, and just take down some notes on what is your brand about, what do you provide, what is the culture or lifestyle that you want to portray for your brand, what kind of things do you always talk about, what keeps you up at night, and what do you feel is the message that you need to share with your audience? So after you do this brainstorming session, you could gain some clarity into what it is your brand is really about.
Knowing your core values, I believe it's important as a personal brand to know your core values and to know exactly what you stand for your business. What makes you guys, what makes your business, what makes you stand out from everyone else, what makes you unique. You know, these are the things that you would, of course, write down and let it sink in, let it soak in. You know, maybe write it down a couple of times just to know if the values that you do have, if they are intact with your mission, with your vision. Remember, you have to have a vision. When you're working towards your brand has to have a vision, has to have that end light. Like, what are you expecting out of this brand that you're building?
Definitely, totally agree. And that is what I was going to say also. So great minds think alike. I called it brand standards. I basically said some of the same things. But you need to define what your brand standards are. Whether you're just starting out, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, wantrepreneur, or you're in the middle of rebranding, you need to be able to document your brand standards. Like, what's the history of this brand? Like Madi said, what is the vision? What's the values? What's your mission statement? What's your color palette going to be? What type of fonts are you going to use? What kind of images are going to work with your brand? And we spent a lot of time, but this is the first thing that we did before starting this podcast. We had a meeting We cracked open Google Docs. Remember, Madi?
Yes.
We had that meeting, and we cracked open the Google Docs, and we said, okay, our colors are going to be the aqua and the gray. We stand for, this certain mission. We have this personality. These are the type of images that we want to put on our Instagram, because this is what's going to inspire or motivate or empower our audience. And that's what our mission is, to help motivate, educate, inspire, empower women entrepreneurs. So we thought about everything that goes into that. What type of colors resonate with women? What type of images are gonna make women engage with us when they see these images that we're putting out? So I think your brand standards are definitely one of the first things you want to do. I also had to try creating a mood board, which is kind of like a vision board, but the mood board is going to be what type of emotions you could even do this on Pinterest. What type of emotions is your brand going to activate within your audience? So you need to define concise and consistent signature styles that the type of mood your brand is going to have. So, because remember, good branding connects emotionally to your audience. So this could be a happy mood, this could be motivational mood, this could be a girly mood, like some people, their colors are pink and black, so that's kind of feminine, so they might want to have a feminine mood with their audience. So I think a mood board for your brand, to define your brand and get some clarity in the direction your brand should go.
I agree. And what is your area of expertise? Mm-hmm. What is it that you actually specialize in? What can you give to the world that maybe no one else can give right now? I'm a write down type of person. I'll write everything down, and that's why I believe that journals do work and calendars do work. Oftentimes people kind of put those to the side. They don't, you don't put your meetings in your phone calendar and you're just like, I can go off of my head. You really can't, because you can't even get brand clarity without, you have to take things out of your mind, guys. You cannot just keep going and thinking that, you have a doctor's appointment on Monday, you have to go pick up the dry cleaning on Tuesday, I have to do this on Wednesday. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's a routine. And sometimes routines you have to break them routines, y'all. You write it down and see how things will work out for you. Be it a vision board, be it a Post-it note, be it on a journal, be it on a piece of paper that you put in your pocket. Write it down. Write it down, y'all. And I know a lot of people don't like writing anymore. You have notes. Evernote. Use it. You have notes on the Android and the Apple. Use it. It's important. For the most part, we expect you to get off of this message today and do something. Start your brand. If you haven't started a brand, start it today.
#gems. We expect you to get gems. And if you have gotten a gem from this episode, you can #gems on our Twitter, which is Womanor CWED WED, where that's our Twitter. You can add us on Twitter, and if you had a gem, #gems and
yes.
#WCW Podcast, so we know that you are getting something out of our episodes.
Yes.
So I like what you said on the whole niche thing. I also want to invite people to redefine your brand if it's necessary. You might have thought your niche was one thing, like Madi was saying earlier. You might have thought your niche was one thing, or maybe it's not clearly defined, or you haven't written it down, or I don't know. But you need to revisit it. Don't be afraid to revisit it. Don't be afraid to stop and rebrand if that old branding wasn't working. Because that old thing, I mean, we can't just, if things aren't working, we can't just continue to do them. That's really insane. The definition of insanity.
Right. Old things can't be new things.
Yeah. If your brand strategy or your branding is not working, don't be afraid to redefine, go a different direction, relook at the plan, relook at your niche, and really evaluate based on what your audience is saying, what your audience is engaging with you in.
Yes, and knowing who your target audience is as well. If it's women. Clutch. If it's women between the ages of 18 and 40, then you need to target women 18 and 40. You know.
Yeah, you shouldn't be putting up, if your target audience is women ages 18 to 40, then you shouldn't be putting up pictures on Instagram of a middle-aged man in your background and then trying to throw a quote over top of it. That's not going to work.
I see that often. And that's why we take so much pride in being made women on this podcast. Everything is done and executed by women and women alone. And we take pride in that. We take a lot of pride in that. Everything from what you hear to what you see on social media is all about women coming from WCW Podcast. So, I mean, I'm glad that we're able to touch each and every one of you crushes out there today.
Day, night, you never know when somebody's tuning in.
I know, right? But, listen, if you have any questions about starting an online business, or you would just like to share your business story, you can email us at womanorcrushwednesday@gmail.com.
Crushes, be sure to give us a 5-star review on iTunes if you enjoy our podcast. Be sure to engage with us on our social media, WCW Podcast, that's Instagram, Womenor CWed, that's Twitter, Facebook.
Yes, we're on Facebook at Womenor Crush Wednesday Podcast. We are on YouTube, we're on Google Play, we're everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere.
No excuse. We just got on iHeartRadio.
Yes.
We're on that Google Play. We are on SoundCloud. So whether you are an Android lover or an iPhone lover, Apple lover, we have an outlet available for you to tune in, crushes. So let's leave you with: be intentional, be clear, and be authentic.
Thanks for tuning in to the Womenor Crush Wednesday podcast. Be sure to tune in next week for Girl Talk with Jen and Modi, along with some of your favorite business crushes, more exclusive business tips, insights, creative business ideas, and doable action steps to improve your business and help you create your phenomenal life. Sharing is caring. Don't forget to tell a friend to subscribe and stay tuned for a weekly dose of the WCW podcast. Crushing hard on the Womanor and want to hear her story on the show? Know a creative woman-owned business that's killing it? Let us know at womanorcrushwednesday@gmail.com.